There's the photograph I was working from, taken in my back garden, looking west, and the sun was coming sort of slightly from the left. So what I want to do on my play page is to select a small area of the sky just to do as a demonstration. So I have cut 2 L-shaped pieces of paper to use to select a small area of the photograph. Once I've chosen the bit I want to work from, where there's not too much fiddly detail because I don't want to spend too long doing the demonstration, but there's enough variety to show different ways of working. So once I've chosen the bit I want to use, I'm just attaching the 2 pieces of paper together with masking tape and attaching a frame to the paper. Put a piece of tape over that bit of leaf in the corner just to try and hide it a bit. It was getting a bit distracting. I want to position it where it's as close as possible to the area of the paper that I'm going to draw on, so I don't have to move my head or my eyes very far to compare my drawing to the photograph. Of course, it's much easier to start with using a photograph than to try working outside when the clouds are changing so quickly. So a few pieces of charcoal to try out first. They usually come in quite long, thin sticks. I've got a few broken pieces as well. So I'm just trying out the different sticks I've got, just getting the feel of them on the paper. They do vary because it's a natural product made out of baked willow, this charcoal, and there is quite a lot of variety in the smoothness or the grittiness. That's the piece I want to use because you can see it's creating a nice even layer of charcoal on the paper there. And often, because charcoal is often a little bit bendy, sometimes you get like a double track. You saw that just happen there when you're rubbing it on the paper, but quite quickly it forms a flat edge. So if you just put your charcoal down on the paper and let it rest and then use it in the position it's resting in, that will quickly give you the smoothest, flattest edge. So I'm just covering an area with charcoal. So what I'm going to do is to work into the charcoal with putty rubber. They're often called a kneadable eraser, and their sort of consistency is a bit like blue tack, but they pick up graphite and carbon from pencil or charcoal, and you can use them to draw the light areas into your drawing. Blowing off the dust. There it is, a large kneaded putty rubber. Winsor & Newton make those. There are lots of different makes, and inside there are some. There's another bit of a different make of putty rubber as well, which is much softer than the Winsor & Newton. Some of them are really, really soft, and I don't think you have as much control over the very soft type of putty rubbers. What you have to do is what I do is pull small pieces off and roll them into a cylinder shape with a pointy end or a round shape, depending on what sort of shape of marks you want to make with the eraser. So every now and then you'll see me give it a bit of a turn. I'm kneading it a bit to make it eat the black dust. Because if you carry on using it without kneading it like that, it just starts moving the dust around on the surface rather than picking it up. So I'll be giving it a little squeeze every now and then and just turning the dirty end into the middle. They do last for quite a long time, these little bits of putty rubber, but eventually they go so black and so full of carbon or graphite that it get sticky and start putting the black stuff back on the page again. And that's when you throw them away. Start again with another bit. I'm just picking out all the areas that I can see are lightest in the photograph. Tidying up the edge a little bit there as well. Can't at this stage see the difference between the areas of the sky and the areas of shadow on the clouds. But with dabbing like that, you can see I'm doing a bit of dabbing now. That just it doesn't sort of rub right back to the white paper, but it does take a little bit of the charcoal dust off the surface, which is, and also here what I'm doing with my finger, as well as softening the edges, I'm taking the charcoal dust off the surface to reduce the amount of tone there is in those areas. I can just use my finger to lift dust off the surface and lighten the tone of that area. And like with the rubber, I'm actually cleaning well, I'm not really cleaning, but I'm taking off some of the dust that's on the surface of my finger. I'm rubbing it onto my thumb, which makes my finger carry on working like an eraser. Chipping into the edge of the bottom of the cloud there to make some little wispy bits coming off the bottom of the cloud. Now drawing back in with a piece of charcoal, I've decided to change the shape of that negative area there, that space between the clouds. The eraser again. Hard to tell the difference between the eraser and the charcoal because the eraser is starting to look so black. Now that whole little bit of cloud I've decided was in the wrong place, so I just moved it away with my dirty finger, and I'm drawing it back in with the eraser where I want it to be. I think I started looking at the spaces between the clouds and I realised I'd got the wrong relationship between them. Not that it really matters, because it still worked as a sky, but I decided to be a little bit more disciplined and actually try and draw the shapes that I see in the photograph. Back in with the charcoal again. Put some dust on and then I can sort of move it around by dabbing with my finger. The more you make these practice studies and observational drawings, the more you begin to understand about the visual world. And you can use these observations then to put into your paintings. Practice time is such an important time. Now, of course, the finished drawing is going to be really fragile because it's just dust on the surface of the paper. So if you want to stop it smudging, you can use fixative spray or hairspray, which is good for charcoal and pastel and chalk. And there it is. There's my play page. Why don't you go look up into the sky and do some cloud painting?